You know, if you stop, just stop to notice the stillness and the peace and the quiet that we seek, that the soul seeks, so that it may hear itself, so that it can be present with its own wisdom and authenticity. That stillness and that silence and that peace. It's all around us and within us. It's the isness of being, of consciousness itself. Notice. We get distracted by the noise, the activity, the movement. But all of that is coming and going. The stillness, the silence, is the essential nature of being. Our being. Just the essential nature of being. Notice that. This morning I was sitting in my meditation and I got a beautiful crystal bowl that resonates beautifully when it's struck. And I gave it a knock with the wand and it began to resonate. Bong! And it resonates for a while and then back to the stillness, back to the silence. All sound arises out of silence and returns to silence. All activity arises out of stillness and returns to stillness. Think about the pond, the surface of the pond, and a rock is dropped in, and it creates a ripple. But left alone, that ripple returns to its stasis of stillness. We're the ones right here. And in the traumas and wounding and conditioning and programming that is carried in the body and in the mind, we're the ones that cause disruption. So, a little break for a second from that thought. You know, I'm here in Bali and I live close enough to a road where there's motorcycles. And I just now heard the motorcycle sound come through. And I could either be more attentive to that, or even in hearing it, I can remember and be more attentive to and interested in the vast stillness within which all activity, movement, noise, disruption arises and passes. So the invitation here is to stop on a regular basis and notice the presence of stillness behind the activity, the presence of silence underneath the sound, out of which sound arises and then returns. There's a phrase that came up once in my work with somebody. We were talking about where's the disruption come from? Where's the lack of peace come from? It comes from within us. And the phrase was, where's my peace? I can't find it. Where's my peace? And the answer was, there it is, just before my thoughts. Just before my thoughts, there was just the movement of activity, the conditions of life. And then it was my thoughts and beliefs and feelings that then colored the experience with meaning. We color the experiences with our meanings. There was an old New Yorker cartoon that I just loved, and the New Yorker cartoons were from the New Yorker magazine single frame cartoons. And the cartoon was of a black and white ink drawing. And it was of a man who's clearly just died, and he's standing at the pearly gates. And the angel at the pearly gates welcomes him and says, "Welcome, how was heaven?" And you might imagine if the more cartoon frames were drawn, the man might say, "Oh, no, you're confused. I just came from Earth." And the angel would say, "I'm well aware. So how was heaven?" And the guy might say, "Well, look, I don't know what they've been telling you, but so much of that was hell." And the angel would say, "Oh, no. You all created that." So the invitation here is to, on a regular basis throughout your days and nights, stop and notice the essential peace and stillness that is the fabric of consciousness. It's always present. It's ubiquitous. And when we remember that, we can become just slightly more interested in the boundless grace and love and stillness and peace of being. Slightly more interested in that than we are with all the activity that is taking place within the stillness. And when we put it in the context of our personal self and our personal journey and seeking for peace and happiness, grace, we tend to be thinking we're moving toward it. I'm getting there. I'm working at it. But if I gave you the instruction to stand up, plant your feet firmly. There, good. Now, take a step toward yourself. You'd realize there's nowhere to go. As soon as I take a step, I'm moving away from myself. What we are seeking is not ahead of us to be found, to be discovered, to be created. It already exists. It's behind us. It is the essence of our being that we move away from when we forget that essential truth of being and go to find peace and stillness and happiness and love in the world of ever-changing form. And there's no problem finding love and happiness and, joyfulness and beautiful things and experiences in the world of form. It's simply that we don't want to ever forget that is just in alignment with the love that we already are. It is in alignment with the happiness and the peace and the grace that we already are. We don't want to forget our isness, our beingness. So I'll leave you with this. This is the invitation. I'll repeat it again. The invitation is to stop on a regular basis throughout your days and nights and recognize the essential fabric of consciousness, the essential essence of being, which is stillness, which is peace, which is equanimity. Just like the surface of that pond, that is the essential and natural state of being. And just notice it. It's all around you. It is within you. It is the essential nature of being. And we cloud that knowing with our thoughts and our beliefs and our ideas and our egoic stories. Ram Dass teaches that our mind gets in the way of our knowing of God. Or our mind gives us cloudy perceptions. And if you've got a little, like I've got this crystal bowl, but if you have a practice where you have a bell or a bowl or a chime of any sort, a wind chime, I've got wind chimes hanging outside here in the yard, just give it a ring and notice that that sound suddenly is present. And then it slowly diminishes. And what is present when the sound diminishes? The silence. And actually the silence never went away while the bell or the chime is ringing. It's just the bell or chime is filling temporarily a portion of the silence. The sound is filling temporarily a portion of the silence. A pebble dropped in a pond, or a rock, or a boulder dropped in the ocean, either way, is going to create a disturbance, a movement within that space of the oneness. And then left alone, it will diminish. It will return to stillness. And we can assist in that return, if you will, by recognizing and being more interested in that stillness, in our awareness, in our consciousness. So the invitation is to notice the movement of life, notice the sounds, the actions, the activities of life, of our own mind, and be more interested in, more curious about the stillness and the silence and the peace and the equanimity within which this temporary disturbance has arisen and will pass. All right, my friends, so much love. Blessings.